So fast, break so free. Fire, like the sky, spirit one with me. You make me stand by the ocean. Your eyes see everything. Of your motion. Get it all, your mighty glory, vanished from the sky. Just another story, man-made life. Think of how you fell in the sky.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas, and I'm warming up for the talk that I'm going to be giving on October 19th at Brave New Books, Guadalupe Street, middle of University of Texas. And if you're out there, folks, and you want to do something, you want to try to do something, I suggest that you go to my website and you download the JPEG that's right up there. It ain't saved, it ain't blocked or nothing. You can download it, print off a few copies, and put them up on your local stores if you're in the Austin area. If you're not, put them up anyway, because that will take people to, if you're in Austin, it'll take you to the Truth Seekers meetings that'll be held at the, being held currently at the Hills Cafe. It'll be held at Brave New Books on October 19th. And it'll have, this flyer has freeamerican.com. If you go to freeamerican.com, you can hear this show. You can tell people about this show. You can tell people about the guests that we have, the shows that we have, and you get, you can have this anytime of the day or night. All you have to do is click on the name of my guest, and the show will come up. You can listen to it on the telephone and everything. Now, the theme today is an article that I received from Dr. Lasha Darkmoon entitled "Here Comes Evil." Now it's been making the rounds, so it's getting pretty good play. And you need to, there's something that you really need to understand. We are in a war. They are stealing money from you. They're extorting money from you to fund these wars. The wars are about opium, they're about oil, they're about cocaine, they're about heroin. And there is somebody there. And yes, I will be signing the books. Yes, I do have all of my books in stock now, including Deadly Flashes of Silver, including One Bloody Alabaster Eye, and of course, Mystery Babylon. And folks, what I told you in Mystery Babylon, that 2,000 years ago, the Bible told us of the coming of the New World Order is the eighth beast, the mark of the beast, and warned us about Jews who say they are Jews but are not. Jesus told us they were liars, and of their father Satan. In this book, the past meets the future. Folks, I compiled that book, and it's almost an autobiography of what I've gone through in the Patriot movement, trying to start the Patriot movement, trying to get the truth out, trying to expose George Bush as our drug dealer, who launched wars into Afghanistan to go after the heroin, launched wars in Colombia against the drug gang so they could replace them with the CIA. And, you know, we're talking about Zionists, we're talking about the people that control the press, we're talking about the people that control Walt Disney, that profit, and we're talking, certainly talking about the politicians out there that are taking both sides. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about. But first, I want to tell you, before I get to Lasha Darkmoon, I want to tell you that in Veterans Today, which has several 100,000 subscribers and readers, they are exposing what I tried to tell you back in 2004, and they tried to kill me on. I tried to tell you that 9/11 was an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning. I tried to tell you about Dov Zakheim, who appeared on television, on national TV with Rumsfeld. And he was really looking diligently into what happened to that $2.3 trillion that disappeared. It just disappeared. Well, he did answer a question at a press conference. The missing $2.3 trillion, we stole it to pay for 9/11. Any further questions? That's Rabbi Dov Zakheim. Yes, and he is a rabbi. In May 2011, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs allegedly killed Osama bin Laden and dumped a bearded body in the ocean before it could be identified. The people were told that the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks had been taken out, revenge had been exacted, justice had been served. Right? Wrong. The real perpetrators of the 9/11 attack are still at large, and what's worse, they control most of the United States federal court system and mainstream media and are running the campaign of presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Now, you think Mitt Romney is going to save you from Obama? The lines form for the boxcars form over there. Get in line. Romney's top foreign policy advisor is a man I exposed in 2004, in March of 2004, in my nationally distributed Free American magazine, and that's Rabbi Dov Zakheim, one of the leading suspected hands-on designers and controllers of the Israeli-instigated 9/11 false flag operation. On May 4th, 2001, Zakheim was appointed Comptroller of the Pentagon, where he proceeded to lose at least $2.3 trillion, a sum amounting to more than 5 times the Pentagon's annual budget. And that, according to CIA whistleblower Susan Lundar, says the actual sum is $9.1 trillion. On Monday, September 10th, 2001, Pentagon Chief Donald Rumsfeld announced that $2.3 trillion had gone missing from the Pentagon. The oddest thing about this announcement, besides the gargantuan sum, was its timing. It was the first and last time any significant political figure has ever chosen to announce major bad news on a Monday. Reveal a scandal on Monday, and the media will have all week to give it legs. Reveal it on Friday, and it'll get lost over the weekends. That's why the self-damaging revelations are aired on Friday. Rumsfeld, unlike most of us, apparently knew in advance that a huge news story, even larger than the Pentagon losing 5 times its annual budget, would break Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, and make everyone forget about the missing $2.3 trillion. So what happened to the missing $2.3 trillion or $9.1 trillion, if you believe Susan Lundar? The one thing we know for sure is that it has never been found, at least not officially. Lundar said insiders know it was embezzled by agents of Israel. Interestingly, the Comptroller of the Pentagon, the man who was running the Pentagon financing, was a known Israeli agent, Rabbi Dov Zakheim. Yes, he really is a rabbi. Conveniently for Zakheim and Rumsfeld, the 9/11 attacks on the Pentagon targeted the accountants who were on the trail of the missing trillions. According to Barbara Honegger, recently retired military affairs journalist at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, those accountants were killed in precise surgical bombings carried out under cover of a non-existent hijacked 757 crash at the Pentagon. Rabbi Dov Zakheim, top advisor to Romney, did not merely embezzle trillions of dollars from U.S. taxpayers to pay for the 9/11 operation. Before becoming Pentagon Comptroller, Zakheim ran Systems Planning Corporation, SPC, which developed a flight termination system. And, by the way, all of this is in the Free American years ago. Zakheim's an article on that, Systems Planning Corporation, which I ran in the Free American, in my last attempt to get it started again. This highly sophisticated wargame technology allows the control of several drones from a remote location on varying frequencies, has a range of several hundred miles. This technology can be used on many different types of aircraft, including large passenger jets. Zakheim's FTC system was apparently used to remote hijack passenger aircraft, stage a military attack, disguising it as a hijacking incident under the cover of 46 military drills happening on and around September 11, 2001. One of these drills, a live fly hijack planes into building exercise, apparently went live, while others provided distractions and excuses. Zakheim's company, SPC, had also detailed knowledge of the blueprints and architecture of the World Trade Center, and SPC subsidiary Tri-Data Corporation oversaw the investigation of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The knowledge thereby gained was presumably used in the controlled demolitions of the 3 World Trade Center skyscrapers. Now, let me also tell you, up on my website, I've got interviews with Chuck Baldwin, and he has testified at the 9/11 hearings. He says nukes were set off. Now, that's backed up by a Russian who is saying, yes, yes, and here's where the nukes were positioned, and yeah, they blew up building number 7. He can show you exactly how it was done. Rabbi Dov Zakheim is not the only 9/11 suspect associated with Romney's presidential campaign. Another, Sheldon Alderson, the Las Vegas Mafia kingpin, who gave $100 million to Romney, thereby buying Romney's internal enslavement to the Looney Tunes Likud faction in Israel. Adelson is reportedly linked to the same Ludnick crime mob that most of the key perpetrators of the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center, including Lucky Larry Silverstein, Frank Lowry, Louis Eisenberg, the mobsters who stepped forward to take the money-hemorrhaging, asbestos-ridden Twin Towers off of the New York City's hands and set up the extra-legal demolition, urban renewal by other means, to be blamed on Israel's enemies. Now, that is a pretty good summation of exactly what I've been trying to tell you for the last 15 years, folks. The mass murderers of 9/11 are not only running Romney's campaign, they're also in control of the U.S. federal courts. For example, yesterday, U.S. federal court Judge George Daniels ordered Iran and other innocent parties to pay $6 billion in damages to the victims of the 9/11 attack. Why Iran? A long adversary of bin Laden and the Taliban? Because Iran is Israel's enemy de jure, and the Likud 9/11 criminals that own the U.S. court system. Daniels' ruling is only list one of a long series of U.S. federal court outrages in which the innocents are blamed and the guilty rewarded for 9/11. The Likud crime mob that orchestrated and carried out 9/11 not only owns the Romney campaign and U.S. federal courts, but most of the big U.S. and global media as well. It isn't just that the people who own and run the media tend to be Jewish and pro-Zionist, as CNN's Rick Sanchez observed shortly before he was fired. The well-known Jewish journalist Philip Weiss estimates that more than half of the people he has worked beside and for in the U.S. media are Jewish, and most of them are consciously propagandizing for Israel in their media work. The problem is that only 6 corporations control 90% of the media in America. Whether or not these 6 corporations are totally owned by the Rothschilds, the founding family and true owners of Israel, they are obviously owned and controlled by Zionists, as anyone who follows media coverage in the Middle East can see. By far the most powerful force behind the 9/11 cover-up is the complicity of big media, which have taken every opportunity to hide the true facts of 9/11 and trumpet the genocidal myth that Muslims were responsible. Fortunately, the mainstream media, is losing influence and going broke as an internet-based alternative steal market share. As far as people learn the facts about 9/11 from internet-based alternative media such as the Free American and Veterans Today, Press TV, they increasingly see big media for what it is. Pro-corporate, pro-Israeli propaganda. It's not surprising that America's trust in big media has reached a new low, according to the latest Gallup poll. If the trend continues, a tipping point will eventually arrive when a sufficient number of Americans demand a 9/11 justice. When that day comes, the 9/11 criminals running Romney's campaign to federal courts and the mainstream media will quickly fall from their current position of power and find themselves slowly twisting in the breeze. Let's hope and pray that day arrives soon. That was written by Dr. Kevin Barrett of Veterans Today. And folks, the Free American has been telling you this. This is why I started the Free American back in 1994. I started the Free American to prevent another Waco from happening. By force of arms if necessary, I helped form the militias. Not a terrorist organization. I worked with the Governor Gary Johnson, who is running for president right now under the Libertarian ticket. And folks, if you vote for anybody besides Gary Johnson, you are simply falling into the hands of the manipulators who got all of the money. Over $500 million has been raised for this campaign between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Who got that money? Who got that money? It was the media companies. It was the newspapers. It was the New York Times. It was all of the Israeli companies. And so they take money from their left hand and they put it in their right hand. And you pay for it. They drain you and then they charge you for loaning you, the American taxpayer, the money to go out and fight those wars that they created, that they started with false flag attacks. And 9/11 was a nuclear attack, as Chuck Bolden will tell you. 9/11 was a nuclear attack on the United States. It was designed to draw us into this fight. The 9/11 perps are still up there. Dov Zakheim, Rabbi Dov Zakheim running Romney's campaign. Clear Channel, that's Mike Savage, that's Rush Limbaugh being controlled by Clear Channel. You'll never hear them talk about the Jews. Never in 100 years. In the next two, I intend to talk about the Jews. Because, folks, and you know, sometimes somebody writes an article and I say, gee, I wish I'd written that. Well, I don't really. Because it provides a different view. It provides a different look. It provides with something. And Dr. Lasha Darkmoon did an article called Here Comes Evil. In a few weeks' time, she says, Americans will face the grim prospect of choosing a new government, either headed by the same president or by a new one. Why a grim prospect? Because the choice is between an aggressive war criminal and a draft-dodging chicken-hawk warmonger, both of them puppets of organized Jewry. No matter who you vote for, you end up with dystopia. You end up with wickedness in high places. It's only a matter of time before the masses are shaken from their slumber and realize that the world that awaits them is a world under the dominion of evil. Our government is now controlled by a criminal cabal. Our country is a loony bin where the crazies are in charge. Our cities are crime factories. Our banks are run by bandits who steal from the poor. Our schools are production lines for the manufacturers of morons. Our places of work are venues of legalized exploitation and servitude. Our news is horror fiction. Our courts are coin-operated machines that crank out injustices. Our laws are dirty jokes. Our heroes are villains. Our celebrities are abominations. Our politicians are psychopaths at large. We live in an America where torture has been normalized and murder is legal, an Orwellian world too terrifying even for Orwell's imagination. Here are some facts that will help to persuade you that the American dream has morphed into a nightmare, that the country we live in is now a police state masquerading as a democracy. Now, folks, I've been trying to tell you that in my films I made over 10 years ago. America, dream or nightmare. Jewish columnist Joel Stein wrote in the Los Angeles Times in December of 2008, "I don't care if Americans think we're running the news media, Hollywood, Wall Street, or the government. I just care that we get to keep running them." Now, his reckless candor in admitting that Jews ran America was to cost him his job at the LA Times. If Americans have lost their country to organized Jewry, they lost it slowly and imperceptibly. Remember that communism is merely a Judaism for the masses, as they reported in Russia after they took it over. Now, folks, most Americans today, and this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake you up. You don't want to believe this. You're stunned. The average person is stunned when they come face to face with a monster and a power so vast and so immense, a conspiracy so immense, they just can't believe it could exist. So most Americans remain unaware that their country no longer belongs to them. They fervently believe they still live in a democracy. This was a takeover not without precedent, however. It happened to Germany, it happened to Russia, and now it's happening in America. Germany, a mere shadow of what it might have been, is now a defeated and demoralized nation, thoroughly browbeaten by Jewry and terrified of their masters in Israel. Without stretching it too far, one could say that Germany has become Israel's cash cow. It was the Morgenthau plan, specifically dined by vengeful Henry Morgenthau as a collective punishment against the German people for the crimes of Hitler, that was to turn post-war Germany into the largest concentration camp on earth. And folks, I've told you that we're the Palestinians today, we're the Germans today. They are doing it to us. As late as 1991, German chancellors were still being forced, like enslaved vassals under the Roman Empire, to sign an act of submission to their allied conquerors. And Russia, too, like Germany, was to fall under Jewish domination. According to Alexander Solzhenitsyn in the Gulag Archipelago, 66 million Russian Christians were put to death on the orders of the Cheka and Russian secret police. Through my good friend Lasha Darkmoon says, Israel Shamir, a respected authority on this point, is almost certainly correct in his view that these figures have been grossly inflated. Yuri Skyn's candid quote from historian Leonard Shapiro is nonetheless too well known to be casually dismissed. Anyone who had the misfortune to fall in the hands of the Cheka stood a very good chance of finding himself confronted with or possibly shot by a Jewish investigator. Germany, Russia, America, they all fell under Jewish hegemony. They had their hour in the sun, and then they had their collapse. And now it's America's turn. We, the Jewish people, control America, and the Americans know it, said Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon on October 3rd of 2001. There is only one power that really counts, the power of political pressure. We Jews are the most powerful people on earth because we have this power. We know how to apply it, says Zev Jabotinsky, the Zionist leader and founder of the Irgun terrorist group, Jewish Daily Bulletin, July 27, 1935. Lasha Darkmoon says in her article, Goodbye America, which is all, by the way, this is all linked on my website, freeamerican.com. I discussed the problems facing America today and suggested they are far more serious than those facing National Socialist Germany in the 1930s. Of the 7 problems I listed, the 4 most intractable ones are these. Nuclear-armed state of Israel and its Samson option, neither of which existed as threats to peace before the establishment of the Zionist state in the wake of World War II. The presence of 60 million Christian Zionists in America who are hand in glove with our new masters, aiding and abetting them in their violation of international law and the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people. And 3, the existence of a tentacular network of Jewish organizations in America, such as the ADL and AIPAC, holding the Southern Poverty Law, holding the entire country to ransom, specifically its mercenary and morally and bankrupt politicians. And 4, the lethal weapon of multiculturalism, a weapon unavailable for use against either Germany or Russia, are now deployed to devastating effects within America's Euro-American majority. Global elites view the white Western world as the main obstacle standing in the world of a future world government. Pat Buchanan is widely reported to have said in a 2004 speech, multiculturalism is a tool used by such elites to dismantle white Western civilization. Given that the Jews managed to achieve almost complete control of Germany and Russia, even before the foundation of the Jewish state in 1948, it must surely be obvious that their executive power has increased exponentially with the acquisition of a military base in the Middle East armed to the teeth with the deadliest nuclear warheads, many of these aimed at European capitals, and some of them probably at the United States. Though it is a commonly known fact that Israel has 200 to 300 nuclear weapons, it is not so well known that this Mideast Goliath possesses even more devastating weapons in its armory, including at least a 35 thermonuclear bomb fueled by lithium-6 fluoride, and even, as some American military experts believe, intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, capable of one day reaching New York and Los Angeles, though these latter weapons have yet to be tested. It would be foolish to think that a country that killed Americans in cold blood on the USS Liberty of 1967 may well have been implicated in the 9/11 attacks on the homeland would have any scruples about attacking Americans again on a much vaster scale if America becomes the object of their hatred. It is important at this point to consider the hidden facts surrounding the foundation of the State of Israel, if only because it will help us get a better perspective of the Jewish problem. The almost universally believed, thanks to Jewish ownership of the mass media, that the UN created Israel and everyone was delighted when that happened. This is demonstrably false. Even the U.S. government, or 99% of it, was adamantly opposed to the foundation of Israel. Indeed, former Undersecretary of State Dean Acheson was one of the many who raised strenuous objections to America recognizing the Jewish state, predicting that the West would pay a high price for Israel. In spite of all these misgivings, the Jews got their state. Why the Zionists and land grabbers should now be held in such high esteem in America and elsewhere, and their Palestinian victims spat upon and spurned at every moment, can be easily explained. Apart from the Jewish-owned mass media, which has managed to glamorize and cast a rose-tinted glow over its Frankenstein monster in the Middle East, the answer lies in one word: Holocaust. The Zionists have managed to convince the world that they are the moral legatees of the victims of the Holocaust. As such, they remain the ultimate victims. Like Finkelstein, we're entitled to express concern over the cheap exploitation of Jewish suffering. It is an undeniable fact that the Holocaust is a major industry, and it is used as moral blackmail and carte blanche for monstrous crimes. Israeli writer Ari Shavit summed it up neatly when he said, "We may murder with impunity because the Holocaust Museum is on our side." Okay. All right. I am going to continue this conversation, but I need you to understand. And the attack on me is financial. I started the Free American Tour because of the way the media reported on Waco. You know? Oh, the government had to do that. They had to go and kill all those people and all those parents and all those children because we had to save them from a child molester, a suspected child molester who jogged every day, who we could have picked up at any time. I started the Free American about that. And I didn't want to get into the Jewish issue. I tried to avoid it. I have reams and reams of documents that shows what I could do, that shows what they could do. And I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you about the Federal Reserve. I tried to warn you about FEMA. My friend, I started the militia. I did it in Governor Gary Johnson's office. He's running for president now. Vote him in and you've got a chance. Vote Romney. Vote for Obama. You're lost. You've thrown it away. You've given